So this week I'm a bit limited for time, so I've come local, and local for me is the Clwydians, and behind me up there is Moel Famau, and that's what we're going up today. It's 550 metres above sea level, so quite big. It's not the best, but there's some interesting stuff up there. Now, as per usual when I come around here, I've parked out loggerheads because it's cheap parking and it's at the base of Moel Famau. And when I got here, there was a Scouse couple who were looking at this, the parking machine, saying, how do you work it? It's not clear because it's all in Welsh. Well, it's not, is it? Even though, you know, look, £2, green button. Not exactly rocket science, is it? It's a fair old trudge up here, and we're going up the road because the off-road way up to a big field is just a push, and I want to get a bit of riding in, get my legs a bit stronger again. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to come out around here is not just for a cross-country ride, but the other week where I was somewhere close by on quite possibly a D8 track, the lad I got chatting to hinted there might be stuff around here as well. So, nothing ventured, nothing gained, but as you might be able to see, steep valley sides, so if there is anything, it's going to be good. I cut off the road, went up a fire track through the forest, trying to find anything, nothing so far, and now heading up, and you get some pretty nice views around here. Don't know if that's Denby or Ruthven down there. I'll say Denby. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will. So as we can see, we're now getting closer to the top of Moel Famau, a hill which Welsh bard Jones the poet, once said looked like a square nipple atop a saggy tit. Climbing up it hurts a bit, and he wasn't wrong. Right, finally, time to go downhill for a bit, and quite a few descents off here. Most of them are a bit rubbish really, and you don't see many videos of Moel Famau or the Clwydians, and when you do, they tend to be on sort of grassy tracks, because I think they're like the bridle ways, but there is other stuff up here. Like anyway, you just got to look a bit further, be imaginative. So Single Track World, for instance, they've been up here and they've done a route guide, but that was all grassy bridleways and it looked dull as ditch water. But I guess with them, they are bound by sticking to legal tracks, because if they start publishing footpath stuff in the magazine, they're going to get a bit of a telling off, aren't they? But this is very nice here. Look at this one, absolutely lovely. Nice rocks, and it's twisty, turny, naughty. Now, I mean, at the moment as well, there is obviously a lot of sort of disparaging against YouTubers for showing stuff that maybe we shouldn't be showing. And, you know, I can see the point. I mean, I try and be a bit quiet about where I am, especially if it's cheeky tracks. Now, I have ridden on cheeky tracks built by riders hidden away in the woods. There's one not so far away from here that I've ridden on, and in the past there's been a couple which got to be quite well known and are gone now. For instance, the rather famous Scousers downhill over that way, long gone. And the thing about these cheeky tracks is they're not that difficult to find really, and the real giveaway is never YouTube, it's never the videos that idiots like us put up. It's Strava, because even if the people who've built it keep it secret, someone will always find it, ride it. Ooh, there's no segment, I want to show how fast I was down this, and they'll create that segment. It's not hard to find segments, it's not hard to find stuff. It's a shame, but that's life. It truly is beautiful up here, absolutely gorgeous, especially as you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see, over there out into the Irish Sea and the North Wales coast, which is probably where I'll be later, paddling around in sewage and digging a hole. Well, my daughter, I hasten to add, not my own. So of course you could argue as well that really I'm giving away the location of this footpath, and yes, I suppose I am, but if you can't see where that footpath starts, then you'd have to be a bloody blind man, because it's right next to the bridleway. And me, I'm an explorer. My mates, my road when I lived down south, we were all explorers. So for me to not go and do that wouldn't be right. You see it, you think, oh, I wonder what that's like. And you actually see from the bottom looking up what it's like. So, yes, aren't I naughty? And I do apologise if anyone's offended by me doing that. Ah, there we go. That'll teach me. Ow! Never mind. Anyway, as I was saying before, I was rudely awoken by going arse of a tit. I have always been an explorer, and I'm of the opinion that most hills have trails on them somewhere or other. They're just there to be explored. And if you're the type who doesn't want to go exploring, then fair enough. But I am. And as for that descent there, I did try and get some clips of me riding bits of it to add in, and I'll try and put them in. The bit where I crashed obviously isn't going to work now, is it? Well, it's quite a biggie actually. And the thing is, you crash on rocks and you think, oh my god, that's going to hurt so bloody much, but it doesn't really. I've tempted fate now, haven't I? That's actually my first crash in a while, at least crash which, you know, hurt a little bit. And look at that, bit of an owie there. Now, there are people, quite a few people, including friend and supporter of the channel, Boots on the Ground, who really advocate the use of body armour for doing this sort of riding, and I don't. And one could argue that now, if I'd have been wearing shin pads, I wouldn't have holes in my leg, but it doesn't really hurt. It will in the morning. Now, a few of my mates wear quite a bit of body armour. Mark and Christian wear full face helmets, and I know with Mark that's mainly for the filming position from his camera, but I don't wear full face unless I absolutely have to. I'm told I have to. For instance, that one giant leap. And I only wear knee pads, never wear elbow pads, never wear shin pads. And that's really my choice. And the reason I don't wear all that isn't because I think I'm bloody invincible. It's because I find it restrictive to my riding to wear padding. I mean, I guess elbow pads are now a damn sight better than they used to be, but years ago they used to have them so tight so they wouldn't slip down that they feel like they're cutting off circulation to your arms, and as a result I always found that arm pump was a damn sight worse wearing them. It meant you were more likely to bloody crash. Shin pads as well, yes, I can get some pads with shin pads on the bottom, but I like my legs to be out in the open. I like a bit of fresh air on them. Don't like to overheat. I'm a sweaty man anyway, so overheating is not something that I like. Same with a full face. I just don't find the bloody thing comfortable. I like to be able to breathe, look about, have my vision. Talking of vision, very rare I wear glasses or goggles, again because they distort the view. So I guess the price I pay for that is when I do crash, get cut up a bit. But not being silly here, but a pair of elbow pads aren't going to stop you wrecking your elbow. Full body armour isn't going to stop you wrecking your collarbone. It's just going to stop the abrasions. Got on that one without crashing. Now I've just set off to go back up to the top of Moel Famau again, which is above me, to do another trail down which ends sort of down by Kilcane. But the way I've come up from where I last stopped, it's actually a nicer trail, even though I'm not going to bother climbing anymore and there's not as much elevation as the other one. The advantage is this is single track. The other has bits of single track, but then it's like motorway wide in grass. So bang for your buck. This is the better trail, and this is the one I'm going to do. What it does mean, of course, is that anybody using this Strava is going to get very confused. I honestly wouldn't bother. Now, I was going to mention earlier on that this would be a good ride for e-bikes, and then I thought to myself, why am I saying that? But what is it that makes it a good e-bike ride and not a good mountain bike ride? After all, an e-bike, as far as we're concerned, is a mountain bike. It's just a mountain bike with a bit of assistance. At the end of the day, all that would make it better for e-bikes is easier climbing. Nothing else. I mean, descending I think's at best on a par, at worst, well, a little bit worse basically. And it's not as if a ride that's good for e-bikes isn't good for mountain bikes, because we've been doing them on mountain bikes forever. In fact, to an extent, I would say that it's the downside of e-bikes, that the stuff you can do on mountain bikes, and in pedally ones, that you can't on e-bikes if you are not up for doing hiker bikes. And I think I made the right decision with this single track as well. As mentioned in last week's video, I absolutely love single track. Nothing finer, just beautiful. How can anyone not like it? Not quite as full on as last week's single track. This is a lot more flowy with the occasional little bobbly bit, but not the worst for it really. It's just different, isn't it? This is a bit of a find. I've never actually come down this one before, but I think I'll be using it again. And this one actually is a bridleway as well. Happy days. Illegally. Oh, look at it. See, might be flowing and all that, but you've still got to think. You've still got to plan where you put your wheels. Oh, cross the bridge. Hurrah! Bit of mud for the open wound. That's always nice. Don't know if I mentioned earlier, but it is one hot day today. It's roasting. Absolutely lovely. But, ironically enough, not that lovely for riding in. Maybe it's just me, but I don't like riding on really hot days. I just get overheated and I'm drinking so much bloody water. Not much is coming out of the magical pee-pee either. Now, I always think the ideal riding temperature is about 16 degrees. Sun out maybe, or maybe even a bit overcast. That's when I'm at my happiest. So now heading through Kilcane, and behind me is the church, famous for something or other. As you can see in the car park, we have a collection of holy hatchbacks. Now, Mark has filmed this church in one of his videos of riding around Kilcane and the Clwydians with some lovely monk style music in the background. Now, I'm definitely not going to pay the YouTube license to get some monk music, so ooh, it's a church, amen. That'll have to do. So quite a short ride today, as I say, limited for time, and I'm just cutting back now towards Loggerheads on what I believe was an old tramway, at least further along. And off to my right is the River Allen. Now, interesting fact for today, the River Allen runs dry for much of the year. Well, I say runs dry, runs underground. Because A, it's limestone, so porous, and B, there's so much water diverted off it over the years for industry. There you go, nerd talk over. Don't believe me? There's the riverbed, totally dry. And there we go, back at Loggerheads, end of a decent ride. So, cheeky downhill tracks found, 0. Big ouchies, 1. Lovely flowing single track found, 1. Tan level, Red Indian. So I've just been chatting with Larry here about what this ride is like and would I recommend it to others. One thing this isn't is a trail guide, as most of my rides aren't really, or they shouldn't be, because I just go where I fancy. But the riding around here is good, but you've got to explore a bit. If you stick to the main tracks, the single track world recommended tracks, should we say, etc., they're going to be a bit okay but dull. I mean, it's beautiful countryside, don't get me wrong, but there is a lot of grassy, wide open stuff that's on the recommended routes. It's hard work at times. The climb up to the top of Moel Famau is a killer. Next week, well, let's see. Bye bye.